Hi, my name is Shelley and I'm a junior at the University of Michigan. Today I want to talk a little bit about how media has changed music in fandoms and online communities. People would rather listen to music to which they can relate, so for a long time before MySpace and YouTube and podcasts, people would only listen to music on the radio, which were generally topics about sex, love, violence, heartbreak, and the American experience. In fact, when I polled my classmates in my music and media class, 90% of them were able to name at least one song in each of these categories without external resources, because they're pretty generic topics. My argument is essentially that online social media allow people to connect and sing about whatever they want, which creates specific genres for fandoms. So at this point you may be wondering, what's a fandom? A fandom is basically a kingdom of fans. That is, a group of people who share the same interests, usually online and in social media. Some examples of famous work that have fandoms are Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Doctor Who, and Harry Potter. But additionally, I'd like to discuss how music has an effect on online communities and vice versa, and specifically YouTube communities. Fandoms are changing because media has allowed any and every fan to express their creativity and share their music. When MySpace, podcasts, and YouTube were created, online fandoms and communities were also born, which enriched the art and debate in these fandoms and in these communities, but also allowed for the distribution of music. So, for example, take Jonathan Colton. Before increased internet use, it would have been pretty difficult for him to sing about the topics he sings about and actually get a following. But new media allowed him to pursue his music career in ways few people had previously explored. And now he's really popular and there's a whole community of people that love him. But what about songs and actual fandoms? Star Wars is arguably one of the biggest fandoms. However, from what I can tell, there aren't that many bands, or any bands, that are dedicated to solely singing about Star Wars. Weird Al has a couple songs about Star Wars, but they were produced professionally and he was already famous when the songs came out. In comparison, several years later, when the internet has made available fan-produced music, we see bands that are only about Harry Potter and Doctor Who and general nerdy things. Harry Potter has several bands dedicated to the series. And I know of at least one band about Doctor Who who's just about to release their second CD. Nerdfighteria, which is a YouTube community centered around things typically categorized as nerdy, has several songs associated with it, from things like quarks to anglerfish and much, much more. So why does this happen? Music has staying power for communities. People still like being a part of the fan community for Harry Potter, partly because of the friends that they made and partly because it's a fun place to be, but also because there's still content being produced and there's still more to see. And music makes it more fun. Additionally, many people discovered Nerdfighteria through the songs that were produced there. This holds true even if you look at the conventions. For fandoms like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, which became popular before social media, music isn't even considered. In contrast, look at the Harry Potter fandom. Anybody who's been to an HP Con knows that music is one of the main attractions. So why is there that difference? In the time that the Harry Potter books and movies were coming out, there was a huge increase in the use of internet, and the other fandoms were just from a different generation. Anybody can contribute to the discussion and the generation of content for these fandoms without having to have money or agents promoting their material. So that brings us to the question, why aren't people writing songs about Star Wars and Lord of the Rings now? Well, maybe they are, but I have a couple theories about why it's not more widespread. The first is that the world just moves more quickly these days. Even though fandoms like Lord of the Rings and Star Wars still connect online, maybe they've just moved on. Or maybe it's that older fandoms are set in their ways. They have a system for how they connect to each other, and music really isn't one of them. Or it could just be that there's no market for it. Wizard rock bands go on tour and can make money by producing music online, performing, and selling their merchandise. And maybe because there hasn't been a lot of music in older fandoms, new bands would be rejected. And so even though I can think of a couple people who sing songs about Star Wars, they don't really sing at Star Wars conventions, and they're not really accepted in the widespread fan group as it is with Harry Potter. So just to wrap things up here a little bit, in my music and media class, we were guided in our projects to look for a problem. But I think the problem was completely generic music. And things like YouTube, which foster and enable anybody to contribute, well, I think that's the solution. Fandom music is a way for people to connect about things that might seem silly or insignificant to people who aren't part of the fandom, while at the same time inviting more people to that community. But it's not just the music affecting fandoms. These fandoms and communities are pushing music to a whole new level by creating new genres and challenging people's idea of traditional music. And, well, that's pretty freaking awesome. I'm really excited to see what comes next in this music-media relationship and how we will continue to move forward as a society and as a culture, both in real life and online. So I'd love to get your thoughts on this. These are just my experiences and my views, but I would totally be interested in hearing what you guys have to say about this. Thanks!